This next person, she's got a passion for service. She engages with the people around her because she knows that she can make a difference in their life, and they want her to be a part of their lives. And that's so cool. I'm really excited that she's coming up because she's talking about something that's near and dear to my heart. And along with a lot of these folks, we're going to try to put this one into practice. This is going to be a really cool one. And so I want you guys to get excited, get on your feet, get excited, whatever you got to do to welcome the last Solution 6, Heather Ryan, everyone.
At the start of this semester, I did something crazy. Up until that point, I had spent a large majority of my time as a student at the University of Florida with a really, really bad case of FOMO. The fear of missing out for those of us who usually find ourselves on the back half of the most recent lingo. But with that self-diagnosed case of FOMO, I constantly found myself wondering if I was in the right place at the right time with the right people. As a business major, I tried to convince myself that I was on the safe path because I needed a guaranteed job by the end of graduation. That after a full week of dragging myself through finance and accounting classes that I wasn't passionate or present about, I soon found myself sitting across the table from a very important woman in the undergraduate leadership development department. At one point in our conversation, when I was stressed about finding the rest of what I was going to do with my life and talking faster and faster, she cut me off. Not in a rude sense or anything, but very direct and purposeful, with a voice that silenced the fear in the center of my mind. I shared with her my deepest desire to lead positive change on this campus and across the world, but for some reason I couldn't even seem to make the change happen for myself. She looked me in the eye and she told me she saw someone who had potential, someone who could make it happen but just needed a little push to go over the edge. For me, in that moment of taking a risk and changing my major, I lost my case of FOMO, and I knew I was exactly where I was supposed to be. You see, as youth, our lives are shaped around pivotal turning moments where we become empowered to make change happen. And as we approach the year 2050, with unprecedented poverty and population growth, this type of investment in youth leadership training might just be the major key we've been looking for. For several afternoons this semester, I've got to hang out with some of the coolest kids I've ever met at the Boys and Girls Club of Alachua County. Now, let's just say as soon as I first rolled up, there was some skeptical looks about whether or not I was going to fit in. But hey, as soon as all the kids found out that I could whip, nay-nay, and hit the quan, they let me know I could hang just fine. First day I get there, I sit down next to a 10-year-old boy named Lil Rod. Now, Lil Rod ruled the dodgeball field, but getting him to focus on multiplying fractions, now that was harder than pulling teeth. I come up next to him and I said, "Hey, Lil Rod, today's the day. We're about to do homework together. Let's make it happen." Nah, Miss Heather, I don't really do all that. That's not my thing." "Come on, homie, we about to get this. You on my team, nah." He looked at me at first in disbelief, and then slowly reached across the floor to bring his calculator, and we got to work. We sat together for an hour, and when he realized that I was willing to talk like him, think like him, understand where he was coming from, and meet him exactly where he was at, he started to realize I wasn't going anywhere. And he shared with me how he wanted to become president one day, but didn't think he could do it because you have to be a leader to make that happen. And there, as I was sitting with him on the floor of that chaotic snack room with goldfish flying around my head, it all hit me. It hit me that our generation has developed the perception that you have to wait until you have the right job or enough money or a big enough house before you can start developing as a leader. But what would happen if we flipped this timeline completely and started investing in youth leadership training for students all across the world who find themselves limited by poverty, natural disasters, and uncontrollable circumstances? Man, that kind of change on an international and local level would be on the verge of world changing. Let's put it like this. If you walk into a lecture hall one day and your professor announces, "Hey everyone, you're going to have an exam, hardest one of the semester, you'll probably all fail it." And you walk in, but thankfully he also gives you a study guide with a list of specific topics, resources, and readings that are going to be on that exam. Now, wouldn't you think that if you had that study guide, that you would focus all of your time and invest your energy into those topics so that you would do well? When we approach 2050, we are faced with this daunting dilemma. But the answer is still right in front of us. Investing in these youth populations, that when crisis strikes in 2050, making sure that they are ready to make the necessary decisions to ensure peace for our generations to come. Yes, this type of investment, that's where we would focus. As students at the University of Florida, we are incredibly blessed with out-of-classroom experiences that give us a holistic education beyond just inside the classroom. We don't necessarily have to worry about securing an internship or a job offer after, because we have access to people who tell us every single day they believe in us to be the leaders that we are. But this isn't always the case. On January 12, 2010, at 4:53 p.m., Haiti was struck. A catastrophic 7.0 magnitude earthquake wrecked the entire nation from the ground up. And after the earthquake, a rapid influx of external support and foreign aid swept the nation. And although this satisfied a temporary need, the aftermath left an entire generation of youth to develop in a culture of expected handouts. So this is where we come in. Next week, our team of 47 students is traveling with Projects for Haiti to Cap-Haïtien for a week and a mission centered on sustainable development and youth leadership training. It's our hope that during our time with these students at a school and a church we're working with, that we instill innovative thought from within them, that we call out their leadership potential by facilitating workshops and activities geared towards skills like cultural awareness, communication, entrepreneurship, and team building. We hope that these skills inspire them to form their own project solutions. Now, what if we gave those students a magic wand? A magic wand where they could solve any problem they face in their home, in their school, or in their community. Now that they have identified the problem, this is where the leadership skills come in to form a solution. And yes, it's not our job to teach a westernized definition of what our leadership is. No, but it is our opportunity to assimilate the experiences that we have been blessed to receive here and allow them to assimilate it according to their community needs. And in 2050, with the onset of resource shortages and environmental degradation like no other, it's going to be the nations of Haiti that are stretched even further. When I think of times in my life that have brought me to where I am in today, in sharing with you my commitment to youth leadership development on a global scale, I can't help think of the day that my mom came home and told my entire family that she had decided to quit her job in the emergency room and found a nonprofit all the way in Kenya. And I looked at her in disbelief, pretty much the same way that Lil Rod looked at me when I told him we were going to multiply fractions. I couldn't believe it. For some reason, quitting your job that you've had for 22 years in the busiest emergency room in the entire state of Florida for a passion all the way across the world just didn't really seem to make sense to me. And for 3 months after she told me that, I was bitter and I wanted absolutely nothing to do with it. That is, until I found myself strapped in next to her and my best friend on a 14-hour connecting flight to the Nairobi International Airport. While we were in Kenya, I saw, experienced, heard, and felt every inch of the impact that my mom was leaving on the young women and aged-out orphans of Kenya. Specifically, one of them, Beatrice, who's on the left in this picture. Beatrice is 20 years old, just like me. And although Beatrice and I live on complete opposite ends of the spectrum, the leadership potential within us is the same. She just has never really had anyone come alongside her and call it out. And when I think about what it means to be a leader here on campus, I might be responsible for managing an event or the project behind a movement on campus, but Beatrice wakes up every morning at 4 a.m. to provide for her own child, 8 siblings, and participate in a fair trade clothing store. And I've learned in my classes this semester about this kind of leadership that she has. The kind of leadership that's authentic and organic and not necessarily something you can categorize or describe in words, but you are 100% convinced it exists because you felt it. And you would think that that type of leadership, that would be worth investing in to save our world. And the good news is that's exactly what her Take Heart project is doing. Coming along and sponsoring Beatrice to attend the University of Kisii, a local university in Kisumu, Kenya, where she will receive additional education. And yes, this additional education will allow her to overcome the poverty that has dominated her village for generations. But what I want to do is I want to take it a step further. Yes, she might come to learn basic maths and reading skills. But to overcome the problems that will be in Kenya in 2050, she's going to need ethical leadership skills, communication, entrepreneurship, and more. How incredible would it be for the University of Florida, specifically the Challenge 2050 project and the College of Agricultural and Life Sciences, to say that we were responsible for starting a movement of forming partnerships with international universities like the University of Kisii all around the world, giving them the necessary skills now so that when Beatrice becomes the first female president of Kenya, she'll be ready. Man, when I think about that, I feel so passionate about it. Yes, it is incredibly important for our generation to focus on ways that we are going to feed 9.6 billion people on our planet in 2050. But instead of just planting seeds of agricultural crops, why don't we also start to begin to plant seeds of youth leadership that will outlast any crisis that comes in 2050 and sustain us through generations long after that? It's my hope that the skills that we facilitate in Haiti will inspire a group of young students to collaborate together with their newfound education skills and create a more efficient food production method. It's my hope that one day at a university in Mumbai, that students will gather together and overcome any cultural barriers on their way to success. And it's my hope that a project like my mom's, partnering with the University of Kisii, will give women the entrepreneurship capabilities to found their own fair trade clothing stores. And some might call all of these ideas and hopes a little bit crazy. But some would also say it would be crazy for Dr. Inanaro to inspire our campus with a conference like One World. Some would probably say it would be crazy for Dr. Stedman to encourage me in choosing a major I was passionate about over a career that I just felt safe in. And some would definitely say it would be crazy for my mom to leave everything she knew at home for a cause that she just had to go out on a limb and believe that she was meant to be in Kenya. And some would probably say that I was crazy to stand on this stage expressing my commitment and belief in the leaders of 2050. And yes, a lot of that probably is very true. But usually, the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are usually the ones that do. Thank you.